What's up, everyone? I'm joined today by the Devil Wears Prada. Thanks for doing this. I am pretty stoked to be here. Welcome to Hamburg.
Thank you.
I'm very, very stoked to have you. This is the second date, I believe, on the
It is.
tour?
It is.
Okay, so you brought your full catalog off of, and including your recent album, Color Decay, which I've got to say that especially the deluxe version is what got me into your band.
Oh, thanks.
So I'm not one of the OG people that
That's
are
okay.
like, play the old stuff. I am so here for the new stuff. One of the standout songs for me was Ignorance, actually, off of the deluxe.
Yeah.
What I got off of it is the sort of jadedness of touring, hotel rooms, I don't know. And I was wondering if that is the actual takeaway, or have I been misled?
I think something around there. We definitely, a theme that we've been kind of chasing after, exploring quite frequently in the more recent years, is like basically coming to be everything you kind of ever wanted to be, but still not feeling like it's enough.
Yeah.
And I think Ignorance kind of speaks on that concept a bit.
I also listened to Shane Silverstein's podcast with you on it, where you talked about how Silverstein are the number one band that like loves to tour Germany the most, and you love to tour Germany the second most or something. And so I thought that was a little bit of a contrast, because you actually said like you are, after all this time, still really stoked to be coming to Germany in particular.
I think when it comes to like jaded touring, it's highly contingent upon where you're touring. Mm-hmm. It definitely feels like there's some places around the United States where it's like, I feel like I've lived here for weeks. If you accumulated all the shows over the years.
Yeah.
Places that I'm not personally too fond of.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking with Shane, and they're the masters of having a great time touring Europe, and we pride ourselves on the same. We love to explore, educate ourselves, have a good time, rather than, sit around a McDonald's or something, as some American bands like to do. So with that, I do love touring overseas. I do love touring Germany. And honestly, as this being the 20th year of our band, it's one of the more refreshing aspects, is always getting to see different parts of the world and mix it up and get outside North America.
I'm really stoked to hear that, because I get it. I speak to a lot of bands, and for a lot of them, it's like, oh yeah, here we go again, But I'm especially stoked to hear that you have a special sort of relationship to Hamburg in particular, like this area where we're at, St. Pauli. You've talked about like the Christmas market, like adult Christmas market. Somebody named Andre, who's a male
We'll
stripper.
never forget Andre.
What's going on there? Is it yeah?
That was touring Germany and Europe with Silverstein, and we had an off day here, and we ended up at we went to an amusement park. We did some crazy ride. I'll never forget that. And then we ended up at the Christmas market, but it was all adult industry themed. And we ended up inside of a tent that had a male stripper named Andre performing. And he's a big buff guy, use your imagination. And I remember just like women on stage, he put like a blanket over them, and he's like under the blanket with them. And
got it.
The rest is, the rest alcohol is kind of just blurred out. But
sure,
that was honestly an unforgettable night in Hamburg with our dear buddies in Silverstein.
Left an impression for sure.
Absolutely.
There you go. I heard that when you're writing for Prada, that you don't drink. Does this have anything to do with needing mental clarity, kind of, and needing that space to create the best work possible? That on one hand, which on the other hand, I'm wondering about what happens in that mental space where you're not in full control of it, right? So what I'm getting at is like the subconscious, or like, right before you're before you're like falling asleep or something. Do you like using that, or do you like to be really clear and focused about it?
No, my doctor says I drink too much. I love drinking. I did have a healthy break this time last year. And it did provide clarity in terms of consuming a little more. I like to read and listen to music, of course.
Yep.
And I was on a bit more of a binge in terms of finishing anywhere from 3 to 5 books a week.
Okay.
But nowadays, no, I really like drinking with making music, actually. I find... I don't know. I think I tap a little bit of the absurdism when you're drinking. Usually any kind of writing I do outside of music is pretty contingent on alcohol. I wouldn't want to say dependent, but I definitely, especially over here where there's so many wonderful grungy little pubs and bars, every night I go to a bar and read and write. I also like sports a lot. So in the States,
Yep.
I have the distraction of watching hockey. Over here,
Yep.
hockey's at 1 a.m., so I'll go and read and write here instead. But a lot of ideas can kind of come tapped when you have the blurriness of alcohol. But at the same time, like I've recorded any number of records where I would drink all day, and that was very bad, both in terms of physical and mental health. But anymore, like thinking about the songs we've worked on as of late, I've been completely sober during the day, writing and whatnot, and then, you take the edge off with some beers later in the night. But yeah, we're all getting older, and we have very complicated relationships with alcohol because it turns out you can't just hit the gas all day, every night, 365 and whatnot, like when we were dumb kids. So we've all found our best means of moderation, I would say.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure that's very relatable to a lot of people out there. What I thought was really interesting that you were saying that you consume a lot of art, and then, in order to be able to then put out a lot of art. And you're a very busy guy. I mean, so you've got this band, you've got your solo project, you do woodworking. You play hockey, obviously. You've got your clothing line, no?
My hacksaw, yeah.
Hacksaw.
That's
hockey club. Sorry,
that's the hockey line. No.
There you go. Do you ever feel like the more you create, the more creative you are, or do you feel like it depletes you and you need to kind of do something else for a minute? And
I definitely get worn out with certain things, especially like I live in a cold place, so I can't, and I work in my garage. So for woodworking, I work, 3 or 4 months out of the year. And by the end of that season, if you want to call it that, I'm pretty burnt out. And then I'll spend more time inside reading and writing and working on music. So I always explain it as having different rooms in my head, or like entering a different room in the house.
Yeah.
And I actually kind of physically divvy up my life in that way too, in terms of the rooms of my house. Like, this is a music room. This is hacksaw. This is where I read. These are where my records are. And I like that divide. In terms of creating, I kind of just mentally allot it in such a way internally. But yeah, I don't have kids. I have 2 dogs, and my wife and I live a lovely, quiet life where I like to keep very busy.
That makes sense. Okay. I really like that image of the different rooms. I wish I was that kind of structured in how I approach my life.
See, I think it'd be better if I stayed in one room more, because I think of like John, our keyboard player who produces the band. He sits in his studio in his basement and works on music all day. And not to speak too much for him, but he doesn't really he doesn't want any other rooms to spend his time in. He wants to just be in that space and work on music. If I could sit at the table and just write all day, then I would be proud to be able to create more and produce more. But I'll sit there for half hour and then I'll be like, oh, but I want to like garden.
Yeah.
So I'll have to leave that room and that space. So
yep.
It's not that there's a right way of doing things. it's not a black and white right or wrong, but I'm very aware of my kind of sporadic nature when it comes to my creative output.
I was watching one of the woodworking videos. Very surprisingly nice to watch, even if you don't have anything to do with woodworking, such as me. And
ASMR, yeah.
I saw that, but also what was kind of trippy was that I have a massive construction site at my apartment complex at the moment, so it was like bleeding into that. Have you ever thought about, or maybe you've already done that, including or coming up with weird ass samples off of maybe like a saw or something, or tool or something like that?
I do love drones and harsh noise music and whatnot, where sampling anything is great. I've worked on, over the last number of years, a project I call Town of Lake, and the last song on the record I made is called Drops Gather, and there's a rhythm, not so much a rhythm, but we sampled chopping a log.
Oh yeah.
I like fires in the winter, and I don't like buying wood. That seems crazy. So I find wood that's fallen, and then I chainsaw it apart and chop it up. And these are my mundane daily tasks and whatnot, and I like to explore that in music. It's not something to be explored in the Devil Wears Prada, which is why I make Town of Lake music. But yeah, that song has chopping wood. I just started a new LP, and the opening track is a typewriter.
Ooh.
I'm very much a person of physical writing down.
Yeah?
I like reading phones. So I finally got myself a typewriter this summer.
Sick.
And yeah, we stereo mic'd up this typewriter. I actually want to redo it because I want it slower. But yeah, sampling stuff, everyday work is great. And music I've found drawn to as of late as well.
That's really sick. And I'm gonna listen to that. I'm gonna listen to that song. I have to say I have not listened to it yet. I haven't.
It's called Drops Gather, and you'll hear like this split and then the fall. So it's a splitting. We didn't sample, or we made it ourselves. I brought down an axe and wood to the studio, and we mic'd up the chopping of the wood. But then you get to hear the two sides split and fall on the floor, which is also a really interesting kind of sort of landscape to be listening to in a song. But yeah, I like to make music that mocks the reality of my everyday sort of routine.
That's really sick, and I love how analog it is, as opposed to, oh, let's just download this thing or just program it. Yes, that's really sick.
Yeah, again, it's not a right or wrong way, but I need to touch the buttons when it comes to making music and whatnot. And John, our keyboard player, he's a genius in terms of manipulating and running everything on a computer, but I find computers deeply uninspiring, so I just waste money on little tiny tools that I could have just downloaded on the computer, but I'll just buy the physical one and inconvenience myself with lugging it around. But it still has to be that way, or I won't interact.
I get that. I remember a time without phones, without the interwebs. So and the fact that I just said interwebs tells it all.
That's fine.
Okay. One of my recent interviews that I did with another band, I got a lot of comments about oh, you're talking politics, I'm out. And for me, I'm always but do you not listen to what this band is all do you not listen to the music? How can music not be political? I guess I'm asking, should you keep politics out of music? Because for me, I don't know. I find that, especially in this day and age.
I can't imagine what you're referring to.
I don't know. Things are great. So one of your fans comes to one of your shows and they're surprised about I don't know, but you used to say F Trump. you're surprised about that? Like, I don't know. To me, it just says something about someone's worldview if they get behind certain people's ideas and tech oligarchs and I don't know. And I don't and I just don't see how that goes hand in hand with a band with a message such as yours, I guess is what I'm saying.
It can be rather astonishing how selective people can be. I'll say that. Yeah, for 4 years I went around the world yelling F Trump. And now here we are again. And we've had many a conversation, between band members, between family, between my wife, friends, I know that the Devil Wears Prada isn't so much my avenue to express that, not explicitly.
Sure.
But at the same time, before I was saying F Trump, I was already saying F Trump in songs.
Yeah.
And no one picked up on it then. So when people get mad at me now about being like, well, F Trump, we don't want to hear your political views in your music. The thing is that they already are. They just didn't hear it. And I guess I'm okay with that, even if it's, a message delivered upon an ignorant ear. But that's the reality of it. One of my favorite musicians often talks about playing to all, not that he said it this way, but, to both sides of the aisle between red and blue politics and whatnot. And I think that's where the Devil Wears Prada is, especially at least now that hell has reconvened.
Has it now?
Yeah, and in the United States so much, but it's just crazy to me, and I honestly don't even want to speak out so much on it because the bizarre nature of it is something I need to figure out for myself before I tell other people how to think and whatnot.
Sure.
I know that where I lean politically and the things that are important to me, I can continue doing, at least as of right now, no matter who's in office. So in terms of picking up people that need picked up the most, which is how I prioritize my political leanings, I will continue to do so no matter who's in office, even if that which the person is in office is doing a lot to step back and work backwards towards the liberties that I personally believe are of the utmost importance. But
yeah,
I'm just a guy that lives in Wisconsin building stools and playing hockey and
sure, getting your Ron Swanson on, minding your own business,
a little bit, yeah.
But it is just incredibly strange. Tomorrow, Friday, are you still doing ladies' night? Is that a thing?
Late 80s night, ladies' night. Actually, no.
Oh,
See, in fond memories for sure, but many a sore morning comes after late 80s night, ladies'
Got
night.
it.
And it turns out that your voice works better to play music as a living when you're not screaming late 80s songs all night.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
It's a benefit.
Kind of like going to a bar with smoking inside.
Sure.
Doesn't work so well the
Yep.
next day.
As you can hear.
But we do love to have a fun time, and late 80s night will always be a staple of our beautiful friendship between Prada and Silverstein.
Nice one. Okay. Well, on that note, have an awesome show here in Hamburg. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and see you next time.